Hi, team. This is George. Thanks for all the effort you've been putting in over the past few weeks. Let's just take a real quick look at this coming week is week 4, personality, outside world, intelligence, cognitive styles, and creativity. Where does it all come from? Well, this nice little short video right here is going to explain quite a bit about it. And I just want to remind you that only the initial responses for the questions plus one peer response are due this week. So I hope everybody enjoys their Thanksgiving and time off. Hopefully you're able to take a little bit of time off. And I wanted to discuss primarily our research paper this time because you've probably started it, probably getting into it. If not, you still have time. So let's take a look at our personality research paper. You are going to choose from these topics here. So if you have an IO emphasis, personality in the workplace, this is a fantastic thing for you to study, especially with the IO emphasis. If you do not have the IO emphasis and you have developmental emphasis, personality in education, or personality in marriage. Whoops, where'd that go? Personality in marriage. Either one are excellent topics for that focus. So as we look at it, the general requirements are right up here. APA format, 12 to 16 pages, minimum of 12 resources. So what I would suggest doing is, if you haven't, start compiling resources. You can use scholarly journal. Say that 10 times fast. Scholarly journals, professional psychology organizations, websites, etc. You can use books if they're recent, because those textbooks, things like that, they are often peer reviewed. So feel free to use them. Just make sure it's within the last 10 years. Just a minimum of 6 have to be articles. So here's a good example right here. Let's switch our color though. Let's go with green. I like green. Research indicating the strength and trait of accomplishing a certain task, success, motivation, principle, validity of tests. So if you are using, let's just say, personality in the workplace, and there's a certain personality trait that you found during your research, find research specifically on that trait and bring it in. You can talk about tests and assessment, like personalities in the workplace. Quite often they use the MBTI. Strengths is very popular here, and it's in a few other schools, but primarily outside in business. I've seen the MBTI and a few others like that. They're still the big ones. So if you have your developmental emphasis, personality in education, and there's a lot of personality in education, let me tell you. You have to hire a teacher. So what's kind of nice is that you're running through scenarios. So as you run through your scenarios, just logically think through, like, if you're going to use this process, what would you do? What's a great trait or characteristics that you want a teacher to have? And then not only do you have to say that these are the traits, but you have to substantiate your choices. So in other words, that's where our articles come in, the books come in, and your general research. So you can have your personal experience in there as well. Support all of your experience and all of your choices with documentation. That makes your experience and decisions supported. And when we have supported decisions, then we have decisions that will have a greater chance of succeeding as well. So you can do the personality traits, classroom value. So where do these belong? For instance, they talk here: direct, spirited, considerate, systematic. Depending on the type of school, probably depends on the type of traits that you want, because different schools have different audiences. So you want to think about that as well. So in this particular school you're thinking about, what traits would work best? And it's never just one thing for everybody. So you want to have that mix of a whole lot of different traits, so you get that greater perspective from everybody. So as you're writing it, what I would personally do, here's exactly how I would write this paper. I would go out first, I would get all my resources. So go out and find your resources. Maybe do that this week. Just research, since we're light on discussions, things like that. If you find some downtime, which some of us never seem to find, start researching that. And then jump right in. And if you're using this, identify 3. So I would have a header. So I'd have basically the literature review or the overview up front, and then I would identify the 3 personality traits. That's a heading, and then tests that would go with it as a subheading underneath it, substantiating everything else. You need a new team created to develop your test on an upcoming project. I would highlight this project and the characteristics I want in that project, and then I would address team needs, and I would summarize it. So you'd have like 5 or 6 headings right there, and you can even use these as different headings also. Don't write them as questions, but write them small. So instead of how would you advise him, her to motivate, communicate with each of these team members, you just write motivate, communicate, and that would be a heading underneath that. And then you can do the same thing for this one here. You can just use it. You can call personality sketch, personality test, issues, and then motivate, communicate. Do the same thing. You can do the same thing right underneath here, personality and marriage. You have all your headings right here. So if you have those, take a look at the rubric as well and just make sure that everything's covered. So that's exactly how I would work this through. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. I'm easy to get a hold of, email or text. And have a fantastic week and enjoy the project and enjoy some time not engaged so heavily in discussions. Have a great week.